How many of you remember realcorporatelawyer.com? I sure do. Today on Zippy Point.
Quick Zips by Zippy Point.
Quick and dirty. I'm Brock Romanak and I'm a big fan of yous. So I'll keep this one short. Some of these vid-guides are starting to feel a little bit like a vanity project. This vid-guide is about my first website. I left the SEC at the end of 1998, having sort of been the internet guy in CorpFin, handling a lot of the issues related to how the internet impacts the securities laws, writing articles on the subject, doing speaking gigs. And then I went in-house to Lockheed Martin, and at night I slowly started writing out a set of FAQs about the various internet/securities law topics so I could share the knowledge I had built up at the SEC with the community, building a free website with the content. At the time, there really wasn't any websites devoted to these CorpFin type topics. Things were still being done by paper, mostly in the late 1990s in the securities law world. As I describe in my vid guide about my time working at R.R. Donnelley, a link to which is below, right before I went to Lockheed Martin, I met someone from Donnelley to explain the aircraft carrier, a big rule proposal from CorpFin that had just been released that I'd been working on tangentially. And Donnelley people, they liked my personality, my character, and they wanted to hire me instead of me going to Lockheed Martin. And then eventually I had lunch with people from Donnelley and I realized I could get paid more, be more creative in a marketing role rather than continue to practice law, start seeing my kids more, and started to really consider going there. But I had one condition. I wanted the freedom to launch my own site with these FAQs that I had been slowly writing. So they agreed, except they wanted to buy it. That startled me. Why would they want to buy it? But it shouldn't have startled me because at that time, some people were telling me to keep the site and go public with it, do an IPO, which seemed ludicrous to me because there was no site yet. It was just a Word file with about 100 pages of content, not even enough for a paperback. An IPO? That's just how crazy the internet boom was back then. So I finally agreed to sell Donnelley 49% of the site for $50,000, and I went to work for Donnelley. And it took another year to build the site. Again, I only had a Word file. We had to then hire someone to build the site, which was hard back then to find someone to code HTML because anyone who knew how to code HTML was in high demand. But eventually we found someone. I think we paid him 25 grand and built the site. It took a year to build, and you can see how simple the site is. It's ridiculous. Today, it might take a few days to launch something so simple. So right before we were about to launch the site, after a year of building it, Donnelley insisted on buying my other 51%. And at that point, I just wanted to get the thing out there and launch it. So I sold them the remaining piece for $25,000. So in total, 75 grand for 100 pages in Word. Crazy. The whole thing is crazy in hindsight, but that's the way things were. And then for the name realcorporatelawyers.com, one night I was at a friend's house and we were having one of those sessions where we were just brainstorming, names, and the marijuana may or may not have been involved. My friend, actually, he's the one, Mark, came up with the name. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, duh, of course that's the name, realcorporatelawyers.com, genius. And then I made some t-shirts. You've always got to have t-shirts. See my big guy below about that, which were so simple. They were plain white shirts with www.realcorporatelawyers.com on them. Because back then, all marketing, all ads mentioning a website started with www. Because I think if I remember correctly, you actually had to type www into a browser back then. It wasn't automatic. Right now, when you type a URL in, you don't have to bother doing that. It's assumed. But back then, I'm pretty sure you had to bother to do that, even though all websites started with www. Anyway, that was a classic t-shirt. I wish I still had one. I don't have one. I don't even have a picture of one. And then my blog was born on realcorporatelawyers.com a year later. I was one of the first lawyers to blog. This was in 2002. There was almost no blogs at all out there. I happened to read about blogs in a magazine about the internet, and it described how they were diaries. And I thought, who would want to read my diary? But I had a college kid interning for me at the time, and I had him install the blogging software. Not an easy thing to do back then. And I started pushing out some rudimentary blogs to start with. And there were no examples, no samples to pull from. Really, you're just making it up as you go. You're thinking this is a diary, but you're not talking about yourself. You're talking about news or the law. And after I left Donnelley, they kept realcorporatelawyers.com going for a while, but not with any new content for their customers, other than the monthly email newsletter that I shared with them from my new job. And now the site's defunct. All good things must end. Let me know what you think.